Everyone to 2016. Welcome back to school and welcome to our parent coffee. You guys are obviously the brave few souls who ventured out of your toasty warm car to walk in here this morning. Definitely my daughter and I didn't want to get out of the car. And in fact, my son, my 10th grader, is still in the car sleeping. He was not happy about getting here early. Jan term, they started. So anyway, as you all know, we have 5th graders that come to give our special devotion, and we have a very special 5th grader this morning who did me a massive favor to be here this morning. And I just wanted to let you all know that she is very active in the chorus and the orchestra here in the lower school. She also sings in her church choir, and she plays soccer. She's a Girl Scout. Her and her troop was at the Alternative Gift Fair, so she's very involved. And the best part, she started taking tennis lessons, so creating another Atlanta tennis player here. Please welcome Miss Sabrina Farley Helen.
Good morning, parents. My name is Sabrina Farley Allen. I'm in 5th grade. This is my 6th year as a Westminster student, and I am very grateful that I've been a lower school student for all these years. I hope that all of you had a wonderful holiday. Now the year is 2016. I'd like to read about planning for the future from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 29, verses 11 through 13. For I know I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. Lots of people make resolutions for the new year. Why do people make resolutions? Often, people look back on the previous year and think of something they wish they had done or something they can work on to improve themselves. Last week, on Monday, December 28th, I had braces put on my teeth for the first time. That was a surprise to both my mother and me. We thought I would get braces next summer at the earliest. However, my orthodontist said that my teeth were ready, so on went the braces. One of my resolutions for 2016 is to take care of my teeth and braces extremely well, which means brushing for a full 2 minutes, using the Christmas tree brush, using the flossers, and using the water pick at least twice a day. My orthodontist told me that clean, healthy teeth move faster, so if I take excellent care of my teeth, then maybe I can get my braces off sooner. I'm not completely sure if I buy this sooner, but there's a chance that I can get my braces off more quickly. I'm willing to work on it. Plus, it's always a wise idea to take care of your teeth. Although there's always room for improvement, we should be thankful for what we already have and what we can already do. Maybe as one of our resolutions, we should try to keep and continue with something that we've done well in the past year, not just drop it. I think we need a balance between resolutions and continuing to work on some of our old ones. Thank you for coming to the parent meeting today, and I wish you all a great rest of 2016.
She can run fast. That's really great. Resolutions are really great in this school year. I'll let you secret. And on secret, my resolution this year is not to do more of something but less of something. I've not been feeling well these last few days. We decided to go to Six Flags, and they have this really cool new ride. It's called Joker. That thing goes like this, and like this, and like this, and then like this, and then they just hang you upside down. And that's not good when you're 45 years old. No more of that. So my New Year's resolutions is to promise myself I am not getting on the roller coasters anymore. No more. But anyway, I'm very excited for today because it's a really exciting meeting with lots of healthy resolves. And as always, we have Keith Evans, who's willing to come down here and talk to our parent body. And he's here today again. And so please welcome Keith Evans.
Well, good morning. Happy New Year. I was thinking about this theme of resolutions and healthy resolves, and I looked up and I thought it would be interesting to know like what people what the top 5 New Year's resolutions are. I'll bet you probably could guess them because they're probably on all of our lists. Number 1, lose weight. Yeah, of course, lose weight. Get organized, spend less, save more, enjoy life, stay fit and healthy. So I was thinking about those 5 resolutions, and I thought, it would be interesting if someone from another planet sort of looked at that and then they're like, so what kind of place is this that has those 5 resolutions? It's like these really huge people go around spending all their money and not enjoying life. And I don't think that probably characterizes most people who make those resolutions. But it does actually provide an interesting kind of a segue into the theme of this meeting this morning, and actually the theme of something that's a much larger goal. It's more than just a New Year's resolution that we've been working on and are going to continue to work on for a number of years. It's going to take us a little while, and that is really this larger theme of student health, wellness, support, not just in the lower school, but across the entire school. We really launched into a fairly in-depth and kind of sophisticated study and analysis of that this year under the leadership of Anna Moore, who works in our upper school and came to us from Emory, is a Westminster alum, and it's a PhD in neuropsychology and has counseling and clinical background, but also a very, very strong breadth of knowledge in this area. And Anna has been really thinking about how we kind of retool and build out student support across the entire school. Many of the hours that she spent have been here in the lower school, but she's covered the gamut from the lower to the middle to the upper. And I thought I'd share with you 3 themes that are coming out of her work very quickly, because you all have a large agenda and actually some things on the agenda that are going to build out some of these themes. The first one is this, that we move this idea of student support out of a kind of counseling, fixing problems, solving problems that tends to relate to a smaller minority of our students. And we re-change the frame that we're thinking of into student wellness. That wellness is actually something that's for all of our students should be engaged in. And that we should have student support staff and programs and things that we're doing both for our students and our families that focus on wellness, that focus on that day you wake up and you're not experiencing tremendous anxiety or stress or whatever, but you could actually find ways to even perform better than you have been and to feel better and to feel healthier, in addition to all those things that kids run into from time to time that they need extra and special support for it. So that kind of focus around wellness has been a big part of what's happened in the lower school for a number of years now through the social emotional learning curriculum that happens here. It's something that we're really a thread we're kind of pulling right through to the upper school and thinking about ways that we can support wellness across the entire school. Student engagement's another one. And so this increasingly in schools you see more and more student involvement in that kind of wellness theme. And so just recently in our upper school, our students stepped forward and established a chapter of something called Active Minds, which is essentially a student kind of organic movement toward wellness and toward destigmatizing a lot of things that have been kind of behind closed doors. That Active Minds chapter has run the gamut of kids who have really struggled with some difficult things to students who are just interested in those issues. Runs about 30 or 40 students strong now in its first couple of months and seems to be gaining kind of a snowball sort of effect, and those kids have been up in front of assemblies and that kind of thing. The student engagement is a really important part of it, that the kids are involved in thinking about how the community can be a healthier place, and importantly also think about how they can help one another, because they often, of course, know lots of things about what's going on with their friends that we don't know. And then finally, the way that you weave these things through daily life. You're going to hear a little more about that today, and things like what we're doing in our dining programs and across all areas of the school, but that it's not something that just happens in a counselor's office or in one place or another. It actually finds its way all through the life of the school. And so you'll see it happening in our athletic program, for example, and some new programming that we're doing there, where we're really developing leadership out of our team captains and others to help lead that program in such a way that the values and the sort of frame of mind around wellness is finding its way down into all of our teams, in addition to other areas like the arts, where we just recently did a performance in the first semester that had a lot of these themes that played out in it. So as you're thinking about what this morning's program is and watching kind of what also is happening across the middle and upper school, you're going to hear us talking more and more about this. You're going to see more parent programming. You're going to see some staff being repositioned in this area, because we really feel like this is an area where we can not only grow a lot, but we can add a lot of breadth to what we're doing with our students. We can kind of make that mission of the school a much deeper experience for our kids and support them along the way. In the meantime, lose weight, spend less, et cetera, et cetera. Apparently 48% of people in this country make New Year's resolutions. For the rest of us, we wish you all well. Thank you.
Gosh, I've never had been one to make resolutions either, this year for sure. Anyway, moving on to taking care of ourselves and our children and being safe. And we have lots of really wonderful people that take care of us every day, and they're behind the scenes and you don't often see them. Although the kids do enjoy seeing them. I don't know if Chris realizes how important those guys are that are out there directing traffic, and how many high fives and smiles they get every day from our little guys. But Chris Clayton is the head of Westminster Security. He's here to share with us some really important Westminster security.
Good morning. Good morning. Mainly, mine's more of a public service announcement, I guess you could say, or just an update on what we do, what we're doing, and what we do as security, and what our concerns are, and how we're trying to get ahead of it and plan accordingly. I'd like to thank Keith. He has been a great help for me, because I have one concern here, and only one concern here, and that's the safety of the campus. Number one, the safety of the students. Number two, the safety of you, your visitors, and then number three, the safety of the campus. And he is super open-minded to that. I go to him with ideas and suggestions. We have meetings. We have a risk committee. We have OS1, which is our operational safety first committee that meets. And we toss things around, what we think needs to be improved, what we need to do. A lot of it goes to Keith, and he has helped us a great deal. Basically, today what I want to do is just let you know some of the things we have done recently. And if you've noticed, if you've been here the last year or two, you've noticed that the security officers, we've changed the way they look, their appearance. Last year, they were driving around in pickup trucks with a little word security on the side of it. What we did, and thanks to Keith for this, we purchased police cars. These are real police cars that we bought. And then what I did was we went to a decal company and had those cars decaled exactly like Atlanta police cars. So for anybody who doesn't pay attention, you think they're police cars when you ride through. All of y'all know those are security people, but people who don't belong here, they just see the cars coming with the light bars and the markings, and it serves as a great deterrent for that. Some of the other things we've improved, if you've noticed in the parking lots, we've put security alert buttons in the parking lots now. And what that does, if you push the button, and one of the main reasons for me to be out here is to let y'all know what these things do. If you push the button, it doesn't do anything for you. You won't hear it beep, you won't hear a noise, you won't hear anything, it just pushes the button. But what it does, it broadcasts over our radios. It broadcasts over our radios, it sends us text messages, it sends all the senior admin team gets text messages that we have an emergency at a particular location. And that button is addressed, and it says, if you went out here and pushed it, it would say, Carpool B parking lot. There's an emergency, and it would broadcast over our radios, and everybody with the radio knows it, and we start responding to it accordingly. We've also got those buttons as silent alarms in a number of offices throughout the campus that are under desks. So if anything were to happen, they can push the alarm, and it'll send the message out. It doesn't alert whoever's in the room that a message has been sent out, but it lets us know that we need to get to the lower school office for whatever reason or whatever the emergency might be. We've also got, if any of you walk the trail, they're scattered throughout the trail as well. And those are zoned. We know what the zones are. So if it comes over and says zone 1, we know it's between the physical plant and the football field, or the physical plant and the baseball field. So we know where those zones are and how to respond to them. But a couple other things that we've done, we've put high definition cameras, we've replaced our cameras on the front and back gates with high definition cameras. We can read tags on those cameras now. Used to, unfortunately, you could barely tell the make and model of the car, but now I can actually read tags. I can read the decal, student parking stickers on those things as they go out. So if we have an issue, we can identify the cars that are coming and going from campus. We're looking at doing some improvements also on cameras, other cameras throughout campus. These cameras have been in here probably 10 years or better, and there's a lot better out there now that we can see. We do a lot more with. The cameras on the mall outside now, I can see from one end of the mall to the other. You know, and if we have an event going on, we can turn the cameras to wherever the event, say like a graduation or something, when everybody's in the center, we can turn all the cameras and look at the center to, you know, to keep an eye on things. And it comes at a great help when you have a ton of people on campus. You just don't have enough people to see everything you need to see. And we were talking, when a gentleman was talking at the door a while ago, we were talking, the size of this campus is unbelievable. And to keep an eye on all of it at one time is impossible. So what you do is you try to use your cameras to capture as much of what the human eye can't see as possible. We have a great relationship, the security team does, with all the teachers and staff. Like you were saying, my guys come here all the time to Love. The kids here at love the security officers. We do little presentations with them, we go to lunch with them, we do all kinds of stuff with them, and those guys are great. And it's great building those relationships with these kids now, because it'll make a difference when they're in middle school, when they're in high school, and we have to talk to them. You know, they're more open to us. We're friends. They're friends. They're more open to us, just throwing us in there brand new when they're in high school. A couple other things that y'all might have noticed, I know some of y'all probably don't like it, but some of the speed bumps and stop signs we put in, traffic was getting incredibly crazy. People were driving like maniacs. I'm not saying that was any of y'all, but people were driving crazy. They were, you know, and it was becoming super dangerous. It was becoming dangerous for the kids. And it's funny, we put these speed bumps in, we put these stop signs in, and students have come to me and said, man, thank you so much. We appreciate you doing this. We appreciate you doing it. We've had parents come to us and go, man, tear my car up with all these people. But it's accomplishing what we want. It's slowing things down, and that's what we've got to do. One thing I've got to get a handle on, and maybe y'all get the word out for me. These and driving don't go together. These and driving and dogs in your lap don't go together. You'll be surprised at the people that are come flying down through there and running those stop signs doing this, you know, while they're doing it. So that's our next goal, is get a handle on that. But we put the stop signs up, speed bumps in, especially down around Turner, because it was getting, the speeds going down behind Turner were getting so fast. And so many kids come out of Turner, cross across that parking lot and go to the summer camp or going to the parking areas in the back. That's the only way we can slow it down, was to put the speed bumps in and make it. And we haven't got as bad as some places are. If you go to some of these other places, they put their speed bumps, they bump them against each other. So they mount them against each other where it really does damage. But anyway, another program we're starting now, if you're on campus very much, if you leave anything valuable in your cars, there's a possibility you'll get a sticker. And I meant to bring one with me, I didn't. But you'll get a piece of paper on your windshield that says you left something valuable in your car. We're trying to get people to stop leaving valuable stuff up. It's amazing. I walk the parking lots all the time, look in the cars. There'll be laptops sitting in the front seat, iPhones sitting in the front seat, money. I've counted $45, $50 sitting in the front seat where somebody goes by, you know, runs by the McDonald's on the way in, they just take their change and pitch it in the front seat. If somebody who doesn't need to be here sees it, they will go in your car to get it. They'll go in your car to get the change out of your cup holder. They will definitely go in your car to get anything of value. So what we're doing a patrol thing now, sort of a safe car patrol thing, where the guys are out walking around, they've got these papers with them, and if they see anything of value in your car, they stick it in the windshield. So, you know, stick a note in the windshield saying, hey, we looked at your car, there's something valuable, somebody might want to take something in your car. Just as a reminder to not do that, not do things like that. Another thing we're doing, We put in place last year a red card lockdown system. And what it is, we have access cards that get us into all the buildings. Everybody that works here does. You as parents, you have codes at the front door that get you into the building. We have a card, and I've got mine with me. We have a card that's called a red card, and what it will do, if I present this card, and I carry one, Keith carries one, Whit carries one, all the senior admin team carries one, all the security officers carry one. If this card's presented at any reader anywhere on campus, every external door on every building, in every building on campus locks immediately. And what it does is, an event starts happening on campus, it prevents that event from moving. It might not prevent it from something from going on in here, but it will prevent it from leaving here and going to another building, getting into another building. And then on top of that, we have our announcements, the siren and things like that, that give the announcements that we're in a code red lockdown situation. But another upgrade we're doing, we've ordered and have on the way an upgraded siren system. Because a lot of times now, if you're in the gym or you're the old green gym, you can hear the siren. Some of the places and some of the buildings, you can't hear the siren. So we're getting portable units that are put in that transmits off the siren. So when you get the siren, it'll transmit these other units and sound sirens throughout the buildings and whatnot. But for the most part, that's what we have going on now. And what I want to find out, do any of y'all have any questions? And I want you to know who I was. A lot of people don't know who I am. I don't know why. But here I am. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions or concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Have the buttons been used at all?
Not yet. They have been, we've had twice somebody pushed them and ran, which that surprises me because I thought it'd be 100 times. But it's only been twice that this happened. And that's the only time. We had a situation in the nurse's office in Presley one day, and she pushed it because she couldn't get to the phone, but she could reach the button. So she hit the button and it worked. I mean, they just covered her up with help. She needed what she needed was somebody to call an ambulance for a child that's having some kind of reaction, food allergy or something. But it accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. It worked well. Yes?
I work in a building where I have a photo ID and I scan it when I go in and I scan it when I go out. They know I'm in the building. If there's a situation, they can track exactly who's there. Have y'all ever considered any sort of an ID card for people coming and going off campus so you know who's here?
Yeah, and that becomes a whole lot bigger thing.
I know it's expensive, I just don't know.
Yeah, you got to figure out. You got to put gates up. You got to read them when they come in. Right now, I can tell anybody who swipes a card, I know they're in the building. Now, you don't have to swipe a card to leave the building, and the reason for that is fire safety. You've got to be able to leave the building. I can't let you burn up because you forgot your card today or you left it in your drawer. But that's where you'd like to be, is where you can track anybody and everybody who comes and goes, from everywhere. Yeah, that's my goal, is to get to that point. It's just a lot of pieces go in place to get it to that point. Anything else? Nothing. Good. If y'all ever have any concerns about security, you call the security main number. It's on the gate. It's on everything we've got. The security number is. I'd advise you to put it in your phone, program your phone as a speed dial. That way you've got it. If you ever need anything, you can dial right away and get in touch with us. Those guys can get in touch with me. I'm here just about all the time, and be happy to address anything. Any concerns you have, I'm happy to look at it. Okay? Thank y'all.
That was awesome. I took lots of notes. Mental note, definitely. Next New Year's resolution, slow down, I guess, going out of the gates. I've been known to come fast in the gates. Anyway, moving on to our next thing is our town hall discussion, and Whit's going to have a few comments before we get started, but looking forward to that, and we'll have a special sampling, so you guys are the lucky ones.
Good morning. How is everyone?
Great.
Fantastic, and Happy New Year to each and every one of you. It's interesting, the marketing that happens around holidays, how Thanksgiving and Christmas roll around, and you start to see all of the flyers for honey baked ham and things of that nature. And then as soon as January hits, like Weight Watchers, just flyers all over and over, and then all of the commercials as well. Thankfully here at Westminster, nutrition is always a priority for us, and so we're always living in a very balanced way and modeling that for our children. One of our missions here at the school is to develop the entire child. So as you know, through academics, we're often feeding their minds and nourishing their brains. Through our social emotional learning program, we're building up their hearts and souls. And then through athletics and nutrition, we're building up their stomachs, of course, and their bodies to make sure that they're healthy in that way. Thanks to Chef Eric and our Director of Dining Services, Terrence Drum, I'm proud to say that our children are making healthier choices. They're really thinking about what they're eating. As parents, we know how difficult it is to feed children. It's walking that fine line of child-friendly foods, things that they like, but also things that they need to build up their bodies. And I feel like through the program that we have here in the lower school, we do a great job of introducing new foods to the children so that they can build their palate and not only eat chicken nuggets and french fries like young Whitcliffe McKnight tries to do on a daily basis. It's personal. But what I would love to do without further ado is introduce Terrence and Chef Eric. They have a wonderful presentation set for you this morning. In your cheers, you will have found a postcard, a note card, and a pencil, and that's so that you can take notes and write down questions as they're presenting. And then at the end, we will have a question and answer session as always. So without further ado, Chef Eric and Mr. Terrence Drum, and once again, Happy New Year to each and every one of you.
How's everyone doing today?
Yeah.
You're getting the fastest preview there. So good morning. For those of you not met or seen me before, I'm Terrence Drum. I'm the Director of Dining Services for Flick Independent School Dining. This is Chef Eric Centeno. He's our executive chef here. We've been at Westminster schools we're now in our 4th school year. Prior to our arrival here, the school self-operated for its entire history, their dining program. We came in, and one of the main focuses for bringing Flick to Westminster was to provide, first of all, the skill set necessary just to pull off the logistics of providing meals every day. And also, though, provide a template, a format for introducing healthy, nutritious foods, and also educating students on those foods and trying to broaden their horizons, expand their palate. Our philosophy is clean eating for better living. You are what you eat. You've heard that a million times. The fuel for your body is the food that you consume, and if you don't consume nutritious food, or if you consume poorly prepared food, you do not have the nutrients and building blocks that you need to learn properly, to perform athletically, to conduct your daily life. You can get away with it when you're young, but as you get older, the health problems start to creep in. You start to lose energy, your metabolism slows down, you can't process foods as well as you did when you were younger. Training students early and introducing them to things early is really a key objective for us. Foods and education and a path to healthy lifestyle. So we focus on bringing innovative meals that are unique, flavorful, designed to satisfy nutrition needs. We use fresh ingredients, grounded in wellness to fuel your day, creating sustainable and responsible practices. So our team here, we've got a management team of myself and then Eric Centeno. Melanie Lesser is our on-site nutrition consultant. She's a registered dietitian. She works with the elementary school extensively. She's also heavily involved in the school's health and wellness program, so she does some counseling for some of the teachers, faculty, staff as they ask. And Natasha Noel is our catering manager. Within the building here, we have our own kitchen, so we prepare our own meals for the students in this building on site every day. We're not trucking the food in from somewhere else. We're not opening up packages and microwaving things to put on the line. So Belinda Moore is our sous chef, and she is kind of the champion for the daily lunch menu here. She does the ordering for over here and inventory and food preparation, and assists with writing menus as well as a lot of the hands-on food preparation. Anissa Feifich is an employee that's been here well before even Flick was here, and she's heavily engaged in allergy protocols that we deal with that I'll talk about a little bit later. Jose Damian is one of our cooks. Aragash Wolditsdik, Mario Longoria, Korkatapa are also team members in the kitchen too. So these are people that are here each day preparing lunch for your son or daughter. Lots to read here, so I'm just going to run through. I wanted to put some facts up. Did you know? The idea is, we're here to talk to you about what we do in our program, and I think a lot of times parents aren't necessarily able to come in and eat lunch with the student, and they're not aware of what we do, how we do things. So, probably the most important thing, we prepare foods from whole, fresh ingredients, limiting the use of processed foods, and avoiding products containing artificial colors, flavorings, MSG, preservatives. We buy fresh produce. We're not pulling 5-way frozen vegetables out of the freezer to steam to put on the line. If we're going to have carrots, we bring in the carrots, peel them, cut them, roast them, saute them, whatever we're doing with them. Mashed potatoes, we bring in 150 pounds of potatoes, steam them, boil them, mash them, roast them, do whatever we need to with them. The meats, chicken comes in fresh. If it's, we will process it. So we're not going to buy frozen chicken patties and bring them out. If we're going to have, on one of those days when we are going to serve chicken tenders, we're going to bring them in. We're going to soak them in a little buttermilk seasonings, bread them, dredge them, and fry them in a trans fat-free oil. So we do as much as possible on site from scratch is really the message there. Our menus are written monthly here. So Chef Eric and Chef Belinda will get together prior to the beginning of the month, and they will walk through and create a menu for the next month. We'll take into consideration, we tried that last month and it just didn't work. Nobody ate it, they didn't like it. We can make a modification to do something different. Maybe there's a special event, a theme meal that's needed. We're doing Diwali celebration, so we introduce an Indian menu that day. We have the ability to, because we write the menus here, to be very reactive if we need to. So the menu's prepared here, I mentioned that before. We will buy organic, local, and fair trade fruits and vegetables as pricing and availability allows. Seasonality comes into play. This time of year is particularly difficult for a lot of the fruits and vegetables that are very popular with our students, but we do try to purchase those things as much as possible when we can locally. Hormone and antibiotic-free milk, we buy from Mayfield. They pledge that they don't use that on any of their dairy farms that provide milk for them. Minimal amounts of fat preparation. So we buy olive oil and a canola olive oil blend. And those are the two cooking oils that we have. If there's an application that asks for butter, we'll use butter. I'm not going to tell you, I believe in using real foods, not made up foods in a laboratory. So if it calls for butter, we'll use it. But we try to write the menus where we're not using that a lot. When we do fry, we use a non-hydrogenated canola oil, the zero trans fat in the frying process. So aside from what you get in that actual protein item. Cage-free eggs, cleaning compounds which are less toxic and less packaging. That's just a few items. We really spend a lot of time trying to structure the menus in our program to be responsible and provide the best product that we can for your student. Another question comes up is, well, my son or daughter's a picky eater, and they don't ever feel like they have anything to eat. And I wanted to emphasize the breadth of how much is available every day. Deli meats, there's always turkey and ham, there's sliced cheeses, there's bread, so sandwiches are always on the table. We have sun butter and jelly, so we can't do peanut butter, and I'll talk about that in the allergy section. There's always a fresh cut fruit salad, we'll blend in fresh berries when they're seasonal. Whole fruits, apples, oranges, bananas, tangerines. Early in the year when they're in season, plums. We get to the very end of the year, we might be able to introduce some other items. Yogurt, applesauce, salad. So those are items that are there every day. And then in addition to that, we have our soup, our main entree, a vegetarian entree, assorted sides, vegetables, mashed potatoes, rice, whatever, milk, fruit, infused water. So there's a lot available to them. So reality is, Whit mentioned that this age level is very difficult to please. You walk a very fine line in writing a menu. And we have all of those other items because I know that the one day when we serve lemon chicken stir fry, there's going to be some students that just don't want to eat that. And they may get the rice off the line and the egg roll, but they don't want anything else. Well, they can still make a sandwich. They can get some yogurt. We also do little cups with baby carrots or hard-boiled egg or some other things. So we try to make sure that there's plenty of other things for them to choose from if the menu that day is not to their taste. Move into some programming. So I mentioned that Melanie Lester is our registered dietitian on site, and she and Eric work together to try to provide some nutritional programming for students. So it's mentioned that we want to try to introduce them to things that maybe they've not been exposed to before. So every month of the school year, we will have an emphasis on a certain food. Back in November, we featured pomegranates. So we'll put this information out there, and then at some point during the month, we'll set up a table in the dining room and show the pomegranates, whole ones, cut ones, and then what we did in November with that is something simple. We just did a tasting of pomegranate seeds. And it was a mob scene around the table. They I thought they were going to bring out the forks and start chanting. But it's a great way to introduce them. It's a non-confrontational way either because they don't have to go. They're not getting forced at going through the line. We'll have a little sticker. They can get a sticker if they try it. But they can come over to a separate table, and Melanie does a very good job of putting some information up about it. So in addition to this little snippet, she'll have a backboard where she'll put a lot of facts about that fruit. In previous years, we've done other items like vegetables, beans, etc. So this year we're doing fruits. December we did mangoes, and as I approach the end of this discussion, I guess not a discussion yet because nobody's talking to me, I'm just doing all the talking. Chef Eric's going to do a little demo on what we did in December for the students. So in December we made mango lassies, and so we've got some of those for you made up that we're going to give a sample, and Eric's going to show how we made them, but that was another item that was hugely popular with the students and very simple and easy to make. Create Your Plate Healthy is a program that we have done historically here, and we're undergoing some modifications with it right now that we'll be rolling out this spring. But essentially, it's a way to help students identify how to make healthy food choices, how to fill your plate colorfully based on these different categories. And we've done, over the years, we've done contests where we've had a chef for a day and asked them to use these as criteria for creating a menu. And included it in our menu signage. It follows that USDA guideline, so we kind of just borrowed from that and created our own program, but they're cousins. Student nutrition education, healthy food demonstrations, we do demos. Chef Eric's done some cooking classes for teachers. We've also done demos in dining rooms. Menu review. Melanie's available. She reviews the menus. She's brought in dietetic interns before, so we'll bring a dietetic intern from one of the local schools to come in, and they'll be engaged in the dining room and help with programming and help with education. Melanie spends a lot of time in the dining room here at lunch, so she goes around and talks to the students, and she's very engaged with your sons and daughters. She handles some of our social media engagement. And the biggest thing is that she's available to consult on special dietary needs. And that brings me into probably the most difficult part of what we do on a daily basis, and that's managing allergy protocols for the students here. I looked that up this morning. 1 in 13 U.S. children has a food allergy. And I'll tell you, in my position, it's very scary stuff. I have 2 children. I'm thankful that neither of them has food allergy, but it's a very, very challenging thing to address because you have these top 8, but the list just goes on and on and on. And every year we have somebody and they say, we get it on the list at the beginning of the year and they're allergic to something. And you go, really? I wouldn't have thought that. I've had carrots, mangoes, apples, garlic, capsaicin, from peppers, legumes, on and on and on. It's really something else. These 8 categories comprise the majority of the allergies that we encounter on a daily basis, but the scope is gigantic. So when we get the health forms that you filled out are submitted to the nurse's office, and we are given food allergy information on any students in the building here. And what we do then is, well, first of all, I train my staff twice a year. So we have a training video in English and in Spanish. We make them sit and watch it. I've got folks that have watched it probably 10 times since they've been here. But we watch it twice a year. Melanie does some additional training with them, and then the management's heavily involved in the daily screening. So over here in Love Hall, we're a nut-aware environment, and you've probably seen that through communications with the school, with your teachers, as far as bringing snacks to school and things like that. But you know, the ask is that we don't bring any nut-containing products into the facility. And on our side, we make a conscious effort not to purchase anything at all in our kitchen here that uses nut products. So we're looking at it when we receive it. If it's a new item that we've never bought before, we're looking at it, checking the label, looking at what's in it, and trying to make sure that we don't have anything like that inadvertently introduced to the facility. The menu is written to exclude those types of products. Now, the one caveat with that is that our upper school kitchen, it's also on campus here, has nut products in it. We have a peanut butter and jelly station over there. And we do catering programming out of that kitchen, and sometimes that catering menu might include a nut-containing ingredient. So we try to do, that's one of the main reasons we don't ship most of the food over here. Another challenge there, though, is that we do try to offer a dessert twice a week, and we're making as much of it as possible in the kitchen here. But we will occasionally have our kitchen over there make cookies and send them over here. In that situation, we don't make food for the students, even in the upper school, that contains nuts. So when we make cookies, we're making them with no nuts in them. But I have to always attach the caveat of, if I serve those, they were made in a facility that handles and processes tree nuts or peanuts. That's the only instance where there's a product that you wouldn't have any kind of minuscule remote risk associated with it. And you know, my advice for a parent with a student with a nut allergy, if they're that sensitive, I would say abstain. And we have alternates available. But today we're serving a peach cobbler, and she's making it in the kitchen here. There's just certain items that she doesn't have the facilities or equipment to make for 600. So nut-aware environment. We write the menu, we execute the menu, we prepare the food. We do a daily review of all the ingredients. So if we're serving lemon chicken stir fry today, ginger carrot sweet potato soup, sauteed vegetable medley, steamed white rice, vegetable egg rolls. So we're going to review everything that we used in the preparation of that meal to analyze it. And then Anissa, who I mentioned earlier, for students that need a special plate made because there's concerns over them not being able to self-handle their allergy, we'll make a plate for them. And Anissa is the one that prepares that plate, screening all of those for those ingredients that specific student may be allergic to. For the others, as they get older, we like for them to start to learn to navigate that on their own. But they obviously need information to do that. So we do the allergy checklist every day. I set it up over there on the easel. And that's just a simple chart where we write the day's menu in, the main items, and check off for specific allergens that are listed across the top. And we have the ability to customize that at the beginning of the year for those special circumstances where it's outside of that top 8 allergens. So on there, I think there's legumes. We had somebody that was allergic to legumes. Legumes is included in that chart, so we can check that off. We make a lot of alternates. It's funny, we actually had one day where we were making baked ziti, and I figured out that we made 6 different versions of baked ziti. And we have since tried to maybe approach that from a little bit more a reasonable perspective and whittle that down a little bit, but we'll make alternates when necessary. So on a baked ziti day, if we have a student that's allergic to gluten, we're gonna have a gluten-free pasta and we're gonna make a separate batch. We will make dairy-free pasta if we need to. If we make mashed potatoes, I'll make them with some herbs and olive oil. A lot of the items on our menu, though, we will exclude allergens from. So when we make our vegetables, a little olive oil, salt, pepper, roast. Very easy. Nothing there that's really of risk to anyone. But we make alternates. So if you have a son or daughter that does have an allergy, they are not getting a plate, if they go to the line and they ask, there more than likely is an alternate. Now I can't do that for everything, for every allergy, but for your common ones, we'll have an alternate available for you. That concludes my portion. The star here is gonna show you how to make the mango lassi, which is very simple, and I'm gonna hand out some samples for you.
So really quick, mango lassi, 4 ingredients, yogurt. Today I'm using mango puree. You can use mango juice. And if you use mango juice, you can back off on the sugar. Actually, I wouldn't really use sugar. So basically it is a 2-to-1 ratio. So one cup of yogurt to 2 cups of mango juice or mango puree, sugar, and vanilla. So pretty straightforward. And while I'm doing this, through the magic of TV.
If you would like one, we'll have one passed out to you.
So does anyone have any questions for me? Like Tara said, we write the menu on premises. We constantly trying to slowly advance our students on their dining experience.
That's what we did
Try to grow as much as possible.
then they know.
And we do have alternates, like Tara said. How do we, just like that? That's a drink. That's it.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you decide if a menu item is a success or just picky eaters didn't like it? How do you decide whether to serve it again?
That's a great question. What we do is we have a tracking system, and we call them production records. And production records are basically we count everything that we produce, right? And based on what returns, tells us if it was thoroughly enjoyed or if this menu needs to be scrapped and thrown away. Also, we consult with servers, so we're constantly in touch with teachers and servers and students, and making sure that what we make is not in vain. This, I think, one of our biggest things is obviously to make something that's well received and that doesn't get received by the trash can. Any other questions? That was a great question. Yes, ma'am.
I have an idea. Your cooking sounds so much better than mine. I'm wondering if you could do like a family dinner.
Well,
We talked about it, but unlike my family, his family actually likes to see him at night. So.
that's where I was going with that. That's a great question, but I do have to go home and cook for my family as well. So yeah, sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Actually, 2 questions.
Yes.
My son insists that the milk is never cold and that it's sour a lot. And I told him I would ask if you could get a new milk refrigerator.
That's great. We'll look at that and make sure. But we have the Mayfield comes in twice a week, and they make sure that they rotate everything for us and make sure that everything's rotated properly. And
He thinks it's not being rotated.
so we'll definitely make the ask on that.
And
Yes,
then the second one was salad bar. I remember one year that only teachers could have salad bar. Do kids, are they allowed salad bar now?
We have a basic salad, garden salad we make up for them. One of the challenges you run into in this age level is you start putting a lot of toppings out. And if a 4th or 5th grader would probably be fine with it, but the younger ones, you have a lot of different toppings. It'd take them all day to go through there, and half of it would be on the floor. So we have to try to, so we make a garden salad for them. We've got a couple of dressings, and that's why we put some extra baby carrots and grape tomatoes and things like that out on the middle bar, packaged up where you can just grab it.
Right, it's a pretty straightforward salad as well. I mean, iceberg lettuce, tomatoes, some carrots, cucumbers. Yes, ma'am.
Do you use or would you consider switching it to a ketchup that doesn't have high fructose corn syrup?
We would, one of the challenges we run into there is when you get things like ketchup, it's not we don't use enough of it to look at it as something we prepare on our own with the breadth of everything else we have to make. Getting a non-high fructose corn syrup or a ketchup in a bottle is something that we've been looking for through our purchasing channels. That's where it's a little bit challenging sometimes is you have to purchase through somebody like Cisco for a lot of your major products, and so they have to have a certain volume of movement on an item in order to stock it. So that's a challenge for us. One of the things that I look at with theirs is we're not using a lot of it. It's a minimal exposure. So I place more emphasis on, I guess, the preparation side of the things that we make every day.
So the kids don't use a lot of it?
If we serve hot dogs, they use, but most of the time the menu is not geared toward using ketchup.
To further that is that we don't have access to it as of right now. When we go on Cisco and we look on our MOG, it's not there. So it's one of those things that we just, and to cover ourselves of any liability, we can't go to the store to purchase it. So it's one of those things that we probably clean Publix out if we did that.
We purchase in that manner to make sure that we're notified when we have recalls.
Right.
So they know if we purchase something and there's a recall on it, we get an email right away. I mean, before it's even out in the press, we get an email saying, pull whatever it is that you have. So that's why the majority of the products that we have to purchase through those channels. It just provides some security for our food process.
Okay, well, that actually leads into my question. From a food safety standpoint, the organic really bothers me some, because if you think of Chipotle and those kind of things, it's pretty tough to trace back or hold accountable local farmers and that type of thing. And the food safety is what bothers me more, because the organic part is more of a feel-good thing. It really doesn't make it nutritionally better. So how do you respond to that?
We still purchase all of our produce through Royal, who is a large produce purveyor in the Atlanta market. And so we source those local items through them, and so those products that we're buying from them have the same accountability as any of the other produce products that we purchase. So I'm not driving down to the farm stand and buying 150 pounds of potatoes to serve today. We'll buy it through them, but we'll ask when they have local available to get it.
Right. To touch upon that a little further, we have a division of our company called Food Buy, and they have to have a certain amount of insurance and a certain amount of safety protocols that they have to go through to become our vendor. So it's not just Joe selling out of the back of his Cadillac corn and we feel good buying it. It's not that. We make sure that what we purchase, it has to go through Royal, and it obviously meets those safety requirements.
Yeah, just two things. The presentation is very, very helpful, and if it hasn't been shared with the wider population, is that something that you're planning to do? Because a lot of times, at least in my case, the messages that come home don't necessarily reflect what was shown up there. For example, if she doesn't have the main menu, all the other things that she can eat, I don't get that. I had 2 servings of rice dip because there was nothing else to eat. I just think it might be helpful to have it already share this.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do is make sure to share these through the parent memo on Thursday, as well as the video with all of the questions as well.
Right.
And the interesting thing with children, we all know this to be true, you have to believe 50% of what you hear, and particularly with my son and food. It worked in the other direction, where he was telling me about all of the things that he was eating, and then I stopped in one day and he wasn't eating those things at all. And so, but what I love about our faculty here is our teachers are actually doing a really good job of like checking the trays of the children and kind of say, you know, lunch is at 11 o'clock, you still have 3-4 hours left in the day, you need a protein on that plate, where are your greens and things of that nature, so that the teachers are really taking a more active role as well in making sure that the children's meals are a lot more well-rounded than they would actually be responsible for on their own as well. So, but to your point, we'll make sure that this is shared with the wider community.
And I love the program, I think it sounds fabulous so much. I think maybe the children aren't necessarily the best advocates for the program, so maybe some reiteration of the message would tie into wellness and the fact that the teachers are helping would be beneficial.
That's why we're trying to do this as well, is we're trying to get the word out so that you know that there is food here.
Not just rice.
Right, it's not just rice.
I had this question, and somebody passed me a note before they left and had a similar question. Have you thought about polling the kids like each day so that they do feel like they're engaged in the process and able to vote on the things they really like? Or I mean, I know you said that they're watching what's on the plate,
Yes,
but to actually like engage them.
Yes, ma'am. What we've done is we've done a chef for the day. And what we did was we asked the children to write a menu based on the criteria. And then we would choose. So that was actually really fun. They won a chef coat with their name on it, a chef hat, and we celebrated them. So that's how we kind of engage, and we need to kind of revisit that again.
Okay.
But what we've noticed is that there would be a lot of chicken tender and French fries. So we wanted, and Whit touched upon that we're trying our best, just as you're here to get this, your children, your students are here to get this wonderful education. We're trying to match that with wonderful food. So what we're trying to do is get the parents in, talk to them, let them know there is food here, and that we're trying to provide this wonderful meal for them. All we need is a little support.
And then a second question, I'm sorry, that was
Yes,
passed to
ma'am.
me was, for fifth grade, I guess they say there's only one line open, and a lot of times the staff is starting to clean up while the fifth graders are coming in, and maybe there's not enough food, so maybe just the, like.
So always enough food will address the,
You keep track of it on the production records, so,
Okay.
I mean, there's occasions, I'm not gonna say there's never been an occasion where we ever run out of an item on a line, that would be, disingenuous to say that, but I think we do a pretty good job of making sure that we have enough food for everyone. The classes come in and are assigned to a line, they're brought to a specific line. So if that group of students comes in, they're going to a specific line. If the other one's class has already come, they may be shutting that line down. That may be where you have perception. One point I wanted to make, just as this conversation has evolved, is several years ago there was very publicly emphasis put on changing menus in schools, public schools in particular, through the school lunch program. And there was quite a bit of backlash over that. My students not eating the foods that, they don't eat that kind of stuff, they eat this. And I want to make sure that you understand that there's a major difference in what we do and when that happened there. And in the public schools, foods are purchased by commodity fashion. At the beginning of the year, the school signs, or the district, they sign a contract for how much food they're going to purchase from Tyson or General Mills or whoever they're going to buy from. They're buying all processed stuff. They're buying frozen vegetables. They'll have some fresh fruit, but they're not buying quality food to begin with. They're buying really bulk commodity, lowest common denominator price food in those schools, and they don't have expertise on site preparing it. So what you get is food that wasn't very good to begin with in its raw state, being not very well prepared, being served. And so when they made that change away from French fries and chicken nuggets and all of that every day, there was a huge uproar because what they put out there was not good. We make major emphasis on purchasing smartly and providing good quality ingredients and then preparing them well. So we will put a hot dog or a chicken tender or something in the menu because we need to. I mean, it's a school that we want to keep the kids happy. At the same time, we need to also have really good, healthy choices available for them. But just make sure that they're well prepared. As a child, I was a very picky eater, but I love my mother, but she wasn't a good cook either. So when we had spinach, it was out of the freezer and it was, you know, heated up on the stovetop and it didn't taste good. So I didn't like spinach as a child. And I'm sure there's a lot of great chefs in here, so I'm not trying to make any disparaging comments about any culinary capability in the audience, but I think that that we have to prepare good quality food for our students every day in order for them to be successful long term. So we, you know, as an educational institution, the school made the decision that for us to work with them. And we're going to try to introduce as many crowd pleasers into the mix as possible. But we're also going to try to make them as helpful as possible without getting into, I don't get into all of the artificial made up ingredients that are supposed to be healthy.
Just so you know as well, there's 26 culinarians here. So you have chefs that went to school, you have cooks that have been working in fine dining environment. So this is not,
Not our public school
thank you.
cafeteria.
Find the best way to say that. So people that my cooks that are cooking in the kitchen actually know how to cook. They've worked with me in different places, so they know expectation, and I train, constantly training. So this is not something out of a can, or like Terrence said, spinach out of a box. So it's fresh and it's love.
I think you all do a great job. And my husband and I are always very pleased whenever we come here to have lunch.
Lunch is on me.
And I love what you said about it, occasionally introducing the crowd pleasers. I think one of them is probably chocolate milk on Fridays. Last time we came and had lunch, we actually got mobbed by the 5th graders, the 4th and 5th graders, because we had a chocolate milk container on our desk, on our table, and apparently we were out. And we wanted to know, how did we get that milk, get that chocolate milk? So I just wanted to let you know that. I think you're doing a great job. The chocolate milk's a winner. but everything else you do is very good.
That's our recipe.
Everything else you do is very, very good as well. And that menu that you've got up there, we're going to stay.
Thank you. Alrighty, and so if there are any more questions at the moment that we haven't had the opportunity to get to, if you would please pass them forward. As always, we will make sure to answer those, and when the parent memo comes out on Thursday, that question will be answered, as well as the video will be available of everything that you've seen here today. So be sure to tell your friends about it, so that if they weren't, they will have the opportunity to see it. And let me think that through, actually, because editing does take some time. So it
Can we try next Thursday?
It'll be next Thursday. When you don't do the editing, you say things like, oh, it's coming out this Thursday. But before we dismiss, I wanted to introduce Becky McKnight really quickly. As you saw on our agenda, she has a fantastic announcement to make about an upcoming book club, and just wanted to give her an opportunity to say that. But before we do, please, a round of applause for her.
I'm a big fan of both Eric and Terrence. This is a very quick announcement. I want to introduce to you Catherine Cochin. This is Catherine, mother of Layla. And she is leading our parent discussion that's coming up on February 2nd over this wonderful book, How to Raise an Adult. Catherine and I read so many books together this summer and emailed one another on all our vacations, trying to find out what books really are the most, really on the pulse of what you're interested in. And it wasn't until Westminster I had the opportunity to go out to the Silicon Valley and sit under Julie Lithcock-Haynes that we decided that this book really was probably the most important book that we could read together as a community. I became a Westminster parent in 1994 when my oldest child entered pre-first, and I stopped being a Westminster parent a year and a half ago when my son Charlie graduated, my third child, to go all the way through. My generation evidently did not invent overparenting, but we popularized it. So I know very much what overparenting is like. I know the worries and the fears that parents have. I know the intentionality that you as parents put into every decision you make about parenting. I know how much you think about the school and the curriculum and the after-school activities and the food that the children eat. But I also know, and I learned from when I listened to Julie, that at Stanford, where she was the dean for 10 years, she said that the students at Stanford had gotten the right grades in the right classes at the right schools. But they arrived at Stanford really unable to be independent and to make choices for themselves. And were always looking back for their parents' advice. She said in the 90s, when the parents started calling and said, when is the parent orientation for the student trip abroad? She thought that was an aberration, and they laughed it off until many, many parents called and wanted to know how they were going to be oriented for their child's trip, not thinking that their child had gotten into Stanford and might be able to navigate that on his or her own. So there's so many really fabulous topics that are coming up here. Catherine, really,
We read a lot of books this summer. I suggested a few that were did not make the cut. One was Fat Dad, very funny. But of all the books, this was the most spectacular for parenting. And one thing that was refreshing to me in this book, a little teeny nugget, was if you've missed a recital or two, it's good for the kids. So that was a little, fresh air, and just, that was a tiny little nugget. But, so there's a lot of refreshing things, a lot of convicting things, but in the end, it's all motivating and encouraging and a totally different perspective than what I've been thinking these years,
So we really invite you, I'm not going to read you from her, but what we'll have available on the 2nd of February at 8:30, we'll have an hour discussion. You don't have to have read the book. I recommend the YouTube videos. I always check them out when we have a new author or a new book. But please join this discussion. Please invite your friends. I was talking to one parent about overparenting, and she said, I'm not going to sign up for that unless everyone comes with me. In other words, she didn't want to back away from her overparenting because she felt that her child would lose the competitive edge.
I felt the same way when I read it. I thought, well, who's going to be the first mom to not sign up for all those after-school activities then? So we could do that.
Please join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I'll definitely admit that I have missed some band concerts and whatnot, so my kids have definitely experienced that. I just wanted to skip really quickly to thanking all of our amazing volunteers that do things for us every day, and I hope that looks a little messed up. I'm sorry. We've had some amazing concerts with our Presto and Allegro Orchestra and our band and our chorus going off to AYA, and we had the Angel Tree, which was very successful, and Claire and Heather, who decorated the school so beautifully for Christmas. Catherine Chapman and Ann Penn threw an amazing brunch for our teachers and staff to thank them in December. It was awesome. We Candyland. Amy Zlesnick and Deborah Miller did a fantastic job with the Christmas pageant. And as always, our hardworking monthly volunteers, Gabriella Olivia Goss, she does the bulletin boards, and she's done such an amazing job. The SEL ambassadors constantly doing those birthday celebrations. The next one is this Friday. Don't forget, it's January and July birthdays. I'm a July birthday. Room reps and our tutors that go every Wednesday over to Scott Elementary. We just wanted to thank them. And y'all stay warm and have a great rest of your week. Welcome to 2016.
Thank you.